If Kling 3 fixes just 2 things I care about, I'm going to be annoying about this. And those 2 things are native 4K and higher frame rate. Because for my full stack and synthetic workflow, those 2 aren't just like nice upgrades. They are the difference between cool clip and I can actually ship this. Now, quick disclaimer so nobody clips me out of context. Kling 3 is still pre-release and not everything is confirmed. So I am not doing here are the full specs thing. This is more like what's being signaled, what creators are expecting, myself included, and what would actually matter in the real pipeline. Cool? Here is the energy right now. Creators don't want better AI video. Creators want control. I want control and consistency. And Kling 3 is being framed like a leap to that direction. Cleaner realism, smoother control, better shot-to-shot coherence, maybe even longer clips, but I am just fine with 8 to 12 seconds we already have. I don't believe there is anyone who can control what's happening within 30 seconds or 60. No, thank you. Then there is multi-shot continuity and fewer melt moments. But today I am not doing the full list because for me, 2 things decide whether Kling 3 becomes the king of the hill for me, or just another demo. Now let's talk native 4K and higher frame rate. Let's bring in some math. A 4K frame has about 4 times the pixel count of 1080p, and that extra sampling density changes everything downstream. Here's why baked details matters in practice. When a model generates at 1080p, it's deciding your edge precision at 1080p. Hair strands, eyelashes, fabric fibers, text on the label, micro contrast on the skin, all of that gets squeezed into fewer pixels. So later, when you upscale, the upscaler has one job: take the low-res image and then predict high-frequency detail. And that prediction is the problem, because video is not one image, it's a sequence. If the upscaler invents detail slightly differently every single frame, you get crawling edges, shimmering texture, that not so realistic skin, or those micro details that pop in and out however they want. So even if each frame looks better as a still, the video can get worse over time. And that is the 2-step drift I'm talking about. Step 1, the generator decides the world at 1080p. Step 2, another model interprets that world and adds detail on its own. And once you add that second layer, you might start losing consistency. Now imagine it's 4K from the start. It's not just sharper, it's a different base signal. Edges have more samples, fine patterns do not collapse into mush, compression has more real information to preserve, and compositing becomes less painful. If you are doing any kind of rotoscoping, keying, edge refinement, tracking, 4K simply gives you better plate to work with. So when I say big detail, I mean that the model isn't asking the upscaler to hallucinate the missing pixels later. It's generating the detail at the resolution that you really want. It simply deletes entire step where your look can drift away. And yes, I expect it to cost more credits, because more pixels mean more compute. But if you know your craft, that cost is not waste, that cost is precision. Now, the second setting is high frame rate, and I am especially hoping for 60 FPS as an option, not by default, because FPS isn't just smoothness, it changes the physics of how motion is captured. Here is the simple way to understand it. Motion blur is not a style filter. It's mostly the result of exposure time. In film terms, we are talking about shutter angle. A common cinematic look is 180-degree shutter. At 24 FPS, it means exposure of about 1/48 of a second, and in case of 60 FPS, it's 1/120th of a second. Shorter exposure time, less motion blur per frame. Now, what does it mean exactly? If I would wave my hand at 24 FPS, it would look something like you are seeing right now. If it would be 60 FPS, then this motion would be way sharper, and even though motion blur would be there, you would be able to see the hand more clearly. You get more readable motion. Now, the real magic for creators is what happens in post. When you have 60 FPS footage, you have an option to decide upon your look later. You can slow it down quite in a clean way for speed ramps. You can add motion blur intentionally, and you can convert to 24 FPS with a deliberate shutter feel, which would not work vice versa. But when you start with 24 FPS with a strong blur baked in, you simply cannot unblur the information you did not capture or generate it. So 60 FPS is basically capturing more motion samples first and then deciding how to stylize it. And yes, you can increase your frame rate using frame interpolation, but again, that's another model predicting in between frames. And even though such models are quite good right now, I know that I myself am using those, they tend to break at certain scenarios. Hands crossing, occlusion where one object passes in front of another, fast head turns, fine details like fingers, straps, hair, or contact moments like hugging or handling some object. So if Kling 3 can generate high FPS with stable geometry and identity, that's huge. And now if we took those two together, then this is like a really crazy combo, because combining 4K with high frame rate like 60 FPS, you are multiplying compute many times, more pixels per frame and more frames per second. So the smart workflow would be test composition and motion at lower setting first, then only push 4K with 60 FPS when the shot is locked. And that's how you avoid burning credits when you don't need to. Before we end, I want to know your two squares. If Kling 3 should improve only two things of your choosing, what would that be?